The market does not wait. The market evolves every second. Only those with the right tools can stay one step ahead. Trading may not be for everyone, but one simple decision, choosing the right platform, can transform your user experience and change your results. Bit1 Crypto Exchange is much more than an exchange. It is a complete trading ecosystem designed for modern traders, professional investors, and global communities. With access to more than 60 futures pairs, flexible leverage from 50x up to 100x, and over 60 spot trading pairs, Bit1 delivers power, speed, and full control over your operations. Simplicity. Use our quick conversion feature with zero commissions. Strategy. Access copy trading, automated bots, and accurate market data to trade with greater confidence. Security is our top priority. Bit1 implements cold, hot, and warm wallet protection, multi-signature systems, and leading institutional custody technology in partnership with Fireblocks. We operate under official licenses, DASP in El Salvador and MSB in Canada, reinforcing our commitment to transparency and regulatory compliance. And if you are just getting started, our Trading Academy and tutorials guide you step by step on your journey to becoming an expert trader. Bit1, where traders trade.
All right, a very good evening to all of you from Dubai here, and I'm sure you all are super excited to witness what are the updates, what are the things that we'll be talking about today, especially after the live update that was done last week on Friday. Now, this is all about Stratify. This is all about Stratify and Tag and how it is going forward. What are the things? Today is a very important day for each one of you and your teams so that you benchmark what is needed for your growth. And today we have with us our favorite person whom we all look up to, a mentor, a guide, and at the same time, a person who actually cares about the network, who cares about each and every member, each and every person. And this care is just not recent because he's been in the industry for over 30 years. Let's welcome today with us our favorite Kenny Nordland. Kenny, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Raj, and good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I know there's people calling in from different time zones, so I know it's morning for some, late at night for some. So thank you for taking the time on this fabulous Sunday. It was full blasted Friday with meetings, obviously updates around Tag, updates on Sonic that we know is going, like a machine, step by step. Of course, also updates about the Bit1 being introduced. I know that several of you have already, logged in and took a look at the platform and so on, which is great. It is live. There is actually people joining constantly, which is, of course, seeing is believing in, trying the site and so on. Bit1 has all different functions. There's future trading with all up to 100x, all the different pairs needed. Basically, the things that is needed on a good crypto exchange. Now, also there will be an educational part on Bit1, yes, like there is on Tag as well, which is important. Learning while you're earning, as we usually say. Also, it was announced, and you had the CEO from Endotech actually at the meeting, Dr. Anna Becker, talking about what Endotech is. Endotech comes with years of experience when it comes to AI and call it crypto copy trading, which is phenomenal. And obviously, during this coming week, we'll be flown out a lot of information about that. The Endotech product, I mean, basically, like you have Sonic, where you're copy trading and it's working for you. Something on Bit One that they will have is this Endotech product that there's an exclusive agreement between Bit One and Endotech. And there you basically can put your BTC or your Ethereum, and they are growing, meaning if you deposit one BTC, they will be growing. They have a track record of multiple years. There's different type of products as well, meaning risk-wise, depending on your risk appetite. Both products still has a track record that is quite tremendous with results as well. Not promising, how the last 5 years will be the coming 5 years, but obviously that's what we look at in general. I think the biggest point when it came to Indotech and that product in general was that just like Sonic, their biggest focus is always to be on a safety net, meaning, even though you want to earn as much profit as possible, you still want to have the opportunity of growing your B2C or your Ethereum in this sense. On top of that, as you've already heard, 60% of the fees from Bit1 is going into the affiliate model, and it's the same for Bix, the card, and it follows the same structure as you have in Stratify, meaning let's say you have 500 people, or if you have 5,000 people or 50,000 people in your team, if they are joining Bit1, you get paid, basically on it, it follows the same structure. But I will say that when it comes to Bit1 and Bix, there is I would call it a revolutionary affiliate compensation plan, something that hasn't really been done before, where these 60% from the different fees that I was just talking about flow into, and it's taken a lot of different people's inputs and expertise from many years, in the industry, calculation, etc., to make this plan happen. And it is there and live. And I'm actually very happy that the gentleman that was actually presenting Friday the compensation plan is on this call as well with us. And I know him actually back 26 years. We were in the same company. We were what you call cross lines, meaning we were not in the same team. And he was, in the beginning, we were, always fighting like rivals, you would call it, of who was number one in production in the company. But I think, the rest of the world got so bored that it was either him or myself and my father that was number one. So they split it up and did a European production list and a US production list where he was always number one or number two, and we were always number one or number two in Europe. And during those years, we had a lot of incentive trips, events, where we got to know each other and became very good friends. And I would say the last 15 years plus, we've always been talking about that we should find a way to be building the same business together, because we have a lot of united thinking in what networking is in general. And actually, for the first time, we are actually in that situation today. So it's actually amazing to have him on board. He is a powerhouse, and few people on this planet has built the multiple businesses he has in this business prior as well. So actually, you're all going to hear from a good friend of mine. He's going to go through the compensation plan with you, and as your leaders, he's going to show you, the depth worth version of how powerful this affiliate compensation plan is. So you can take, of course, the best notes, but also take it in. You'll have more tools, how to explain the comp plan in depth, and obviously you can show the comp plan in a few minutes as well, and just go into the key points of it, just like we've done in the past as well. So I'll leave over the Zoom stage for you. Welcome and thank you for being on our caller, Mr. Andrew Maronian.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay, Kenny?
Yes, perfect.
Excellent. Excellent. Hello, everybody. And thank you, Kenny, for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. And, I can tell you, I appreciate you. I appreciate this group. And appreciate the vision that each of you have had to create the platform that has me excited to be involved and finally having a chance to work with somebody that I've had a lot of respect for a long time. We've been talking about getting together, and one person, probably Kenny, as recent as last year, people could have said that you and I are terrible at planning things together, because for 15 years we've been trying to figure out a way to work with each other, and we haven't been able to do it until now. But we were just waiting for the perfect time, and we truly believe that that's the case today. And I'm honored and privileged to let's see, let's fix this here. I'm honored and privileged to have each and every one of you, to be able to work with each and every one of you too. So, and he is right. We were rivals, and then that rivalry morphed into a respect, and then that respect morphed into a friendship, and then that friendship morphed into a brotherhood. And now we're able to really come back together as family, basically, and build this thing. And I'm really pumped about it. So thank you, Kenny. And all of you that have a chance to hear from him on a regular basis, I got to tell you, anytime, especially even when we were rivals, that I could have my people hear from him, it was just a blessing, because they were able to hear from somebody, that just had a depth of knowledge that just you had to have as much time in the industry and success that he did in order to really appreciate. And you get him on a regular basis, and that's a blessing. That's wonderful, and something that I think you shouldn't take for granted. And I know many of you don't. And so I think, thank you, Kenny. I really appreciate that. And I know everybody here understands the position that they're in. You're not going to tell them that, but I will. So there you have it. Okay, let's get into the compensation plan.
Recording in progress.
Let's chat about the comp plan, and let's break it down based on a general understanding. Okay. Now I'm going to do a detailed comp plan presentation right now, but I'm going to do it at a level 2 in leadership, meaning I'm going to assume that nobody on this, on this Zoom here today, is brand new and needs, full explanation. If you are, don't worry, you'll be able to follow. But I'm going to recommend that when we're done, right, just take notes, write down your questions, and get with your leadership, who I guarantee you has enough experience to understand the power of what we have here. And then they will, help you connect those dots. But in doing so, I'm going to make some assumptions that some terminology and some general things, and then we're going to, we'll be able to build upon that. One of the most important things to keep in mind with our comp plan here, it's revolutionary. It's exciting. There's some real subtle differences to any other that's ever been even close to this, but this is absolutely different than anything you've ever seen, than most plans out there. I'm going to call this plan a coded uni-level plan. And that term's important. Now you would say, well, what's coded mean? Well, you're going to understand it more as I get into it here. But as it relates to kind of the best way to start, and a good summary is, when you think about why each of us build this business, yes, we build it because we're dreaming about bigger things and so on, and we want to make money. But there is an end game. Yes, the end game is, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to travel more. I want to be able to do this, that, right? You probably have a why, a bullet point of why and reasons you're doing this. I have to believe one of them is someday I want to be able to retire. Someday, I want to be able to give this business to my kids, or my kids, my children's children, and so on. I mean, otherwise, what are we doing? Right. So in that spirit, most uni-level plans and most plans out there that exist, they are plans that tend to pay you based on what you are today. And when I say that, I also mean that they tend to pay you for what you are tomorrow. And so with that, yes, you can make a lot of income, but if you end up deciding, for example, I want to retire because of age or whatever the reason, then it would make sense that you might fall out of rank if there's a maintenance, right, in the plan. And in doing so, you end up losing your income and dropping down. We've seen that happen in many plans. What a coded plan generally does is it changes the question, right? The question isn't what are you today? That's what normal, most plans, I don't even want to call it a normal plan. I want to call it an abnormal plan because I don't like it. But those kinds of abnormal plans, they pay you for what you are today. And a coded plan pays you for what you were at the time. And when you understand that subtle difference, you'll begin to gravitate towards why this is so powerful. Because at the time you were the highest rank in the company, and at the time you brought on a lot of distributors, and at the time you brought in a lot of volume, and at the time you were coded at a very high level, and now the later time you're looking to do other things and retire or whatever, and by saying I'm getting paid for what I was at the time, that means that you're still getting paid tomorrow as if you were the same rank as today. And that concept secures income long term. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Again, we're going to make a few assumptions here. I just want to make sure that you guys can all see it. So let me share my screen and get into presentation mode. If I could just get a thumbs up or somebody to just say they see it, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely, Henry.
You do see it? Thank you. Okay. So this is a compensation plan for leaders. And again, that just means I'm going to come at this at a level 2 in explanation. And if you miss anything, just take notes and get with your leadership. It should work out. It's a compensation plan for leaders around the Bit 1 and BIX compensation, right? So those activities, how do we get paid? So the first term that I need you to understand is commission value. This is a term and a value that is used to pay out in the comp plan. Okay. Now you heard Kenny talk about 60% getting paid out and so on. We're going to talk about that, but we have to create a number, and then that number has to go into the comp plan and get split accordingly, right? Now, when it comes to a commission value, different things create commission. I call them commissionable events. And for Bit 1, through trading fees are the events, the commissional events, meaning when a trade happens and a fee kicks in, 0.09% of the leveraged trading volume is actually what is determined as the commission value. Now, when it comes to BIX, you can see there's multiple commissionable events because there's multiple things you can do, right? You can do transfers, you can do card purchases, you can, there's monthly fees on them and so on and so forth. Whatever those values are, I'm not going to get into today. The commission value is 60% of whatever those fees are, and that gets pumped into the compensation plan. Okay, so that's how we determine commission value. But we also need to know what's the monthly group volume, right? Which is used towards rank advancement. That's another term. Okay, monthly group volume. So when it comes to Bit 1, I will show you the formula that it is determined to calculate group volume so that we can then determine what the commission values are. So the formula straight up is the total daily trading volume, you see there on the left-hand side, right? Multiplied by the average leveraged, multiplied by the number of trades per day, times 30 days to get monthly, right? That's monthly. That's going to equal your total group volume. So by way of example, let's say you had one client that had 10,000 in USD in active trading. That means they made a deposit and they've turned it on, right? They're doing something with it, generating trades, right? And the average leverage, now you're going to see that we're going to start splitting this out because based on whether an individual wants to solo trade, which means they're doing it themselves, or they want to copy trade, which is mimicking an expert. What we see here is these are company averages, all right? So the solo trader, and you're able to select the leverage that you want, and it's unreal that you're able to actually leverage up to 100 times. But what we've seen is the historical data, at least up till today, it's been around 15, and that's by choice by the solo traders. And the copy trader is around 5x, right? And so now we have to create two line items here because there's two different scenarios, right? And we also have to recognize that the number of trades per day, at least up till recently, and company averages, is that the solo traders tend to trade 3 times a day. That's been the average company-wide. And the copy traders, up till today, have been at 0.75 a day. Now, I will tell you that there are some things in place, specifically with Endotech, that we believe that the number of trades per day frequency for the copy trading through Endotech is going to go up. All right. But I'm not going to quote what that number is today because we don't have it. But you can just imagine it's going to go up from there. And of course, in both cases, you have to multiply it by 30 days. And then you're going to get to a total group monthly volume, whether it be a client who is copy trading or solo trading. And you could see the range in volume there on the right-hand side, 1 to 13 million in volume. So now we take those two numbers to determine the commission value by multiplying it, if you remember from the slide before, by 0.09%. And then that becomes the commission value. So it's either 1,000 or 12,000. These numbers get pumped through the compensation plan, and then you are looking to determine, what do I make from that? Okay, but that entire amount gets paid out. Okay, so how does that happen? Well, it's based on achieving ranks. Okay, so now we got to start talking about ranks to determine how much of the commission value, right, you can get. So you can start calculating all of that. As we get into that, there's one common rule that is across every single rank within this company, and it's called the 50% rule. Now, specifically, it means that no one leg in your organization can represent more than 50% of the total requirement. So in this example on the right, let's say the total volume need to hit a rank, which in this case you'll learn later is leader, is 10 million. Well, these represent organizations. No one organization can count. You can't use more than 5 million in this case for this rank to get where you need to go. But you can go unlimited with and add total volumes together, right? So meaning if this organization had 22 million in it, you'd only be able to use 5 of it towards the leader rank, and then you'd have to get the rest from other organizations that are directly sponsored to you. Okay, that 50% rule again is across the entire base of the every single rank. Okay, now the ranks themselves are as you see here. Now again, remember 50% rule applies. So if you're looking to hit achiever, which is 100,000 in volume, right? You got to remember the 50% rule means that 50,000 of it you can only use up to 50,000 per organization or leg. Same all the way up to chairman. Okay. Now these numbers may seem large to you, but see, a lot of people confuse this volume with a deposit, and it's not the case. It is back to that example, right? Remember that one client? It's not the amount the client put in. It's actually the total group monthly volume that was generated through the trades per day and multiplying it by 30 days. It's over the course of a month, right? So that one client could represent between 1 to 13 million in volume, just one. So think about it. 2 clients that are solo traders that have 10,000. I mean, you're already at regional leader, just 2. So again, you can see how traversing and hitting higher ranks within this comp plan can happen very quickly. All you got to do is just, follow the system of introducing people and then watch it happen. So that's the beauty of that. Okay. So that's how the ranks work. Now we're going to get into the compensation plan, right? So now the comp, I mean, we're in the topic of the comp plan, but now this is the actual payout part. And we got to break that out into three sections. Now remember, the 3 sections are all based on this commission value that we've been establishing this whole time. So once we determine the commission value, then we have to take percentages of that commission value and pay it out. So this is what we're calling the 3-level referral payout. It's a uni-level. And so for the directly sponsored people, anybody you bring to the table that you directly sponsor, or level 1, you're going to get 4% of the commission value. Anybody that is indirectly sponsored, meaning you're directly sponsored, sponsor somebody, you're going to make 2%. And then the indirect, double indirect, right? Level 3 is going to be 1%. Very clean, very simple. But I know what many of you are asking. Well, how in the world do I get paid level 4 and beyond? Well, the answer is must achieve ranks to open up more levels, meaning to add on to this. Okay. So let's get into part 2, which is the open line coding piece. Again, over here on the left, you see those were the ranks that we had already displayed earlier. Now we got to talk about, okay, so what are the percentages associated? Well, the specific percentages, what we call coded, open line coded commission, right? These are the numbers. So 0.45% for achiever, all the way up to 8%. Now you're saying, is that all I can make? Well, there is a chance that you're only making 8, but odds are you're not at chairman, because these percentages add together when appropriate, causing the ability for you to actually max earn anywhere between 4.5% up to 52%, depending on the rank that you are. Okay. Now, some coding rules that are important here. All right. The first one is that percentages are established and locked in based on the start date of the new influencer. So what happens is, again, those 2 questions that are very important. What is the start date of the new influencer, and what was your rank at the time? And whenever we determine what the percentage you're going to earn, that's the percentage you earn on that person. Anytime that person is responsible for a commissionable event of any kind, that's the percent forever. The second thing is percentages add when you represent more ranks in the code line, meaning you can actually get more, right? That's how we go from the coded commission to the max position, or somewhere in between, right? These 2 columns for any one rank. And the last thing, and the question I've asked a few times, but you're going to say to yourself over forever, is the question's always going to be, what is your rank on the date of the new rep that just started? And that's how you know what you earn. Now, for those of you who have a lot of experience, you're going to really appreciate part 3, because you recognize, well, the term is called generational coding, but we all know that it's very likely that if I was in your organization, right, beyond the fact that you'd probably be happy about it, I probably might hit the same rank that you're going to hit. So what happens then? Well, in a coded plan, let's say I'm underneath you, right? And what this company has done has added this concept called generational coding at the vice president position or higher. So let's say you got started today. I'll just give you an idea of how we would look at this. You got started today, and you built up to vice president. Okay. And now you're a vice president, and I come into your business somewhere along the way. But while you're the vice president, even though I'm underneath you, you're making 5% on everything my organization is doing. Now, someday in the future, I hit vice president. Well, in most plans, you get cut out of that money. In this plan, right now, from that day forward, because now I'm a vice president as well, I'm going to make the 5% on the new people that join, but you still have 1% on my organization, meaning you don't get completely shut out of what I'm doing. But I do want to point out something very important. You're still, when it comes to my organization, when you were the vice president on my organization, you will always make the 5% on those people while I was building to vice president. It's only on the new people that join after I hit that you now drop to 1% and I'm picking up 5%. But the good news is you're not completely cut out. There'd actually have to be more than one vice president in the way, and then that begins to happen. But it's a good problem to have at that point. The rules, generational pay, only available at VP and up, as you can see there on the right-hand side, right? VP, and you can see all the way up to chairman, each of them giving you an added 50% possibility. The second thing is it represents the leader at the same rank, but further up the hierarchy. That's the term. That's what generational coding means. It represents the leader at the exact same rank, but further up the hierarchy. So, by another way of example, no one influencer can ever be the 0 and 1 at the same time. You can't be the first president or the 0 president, meaning the one that is the first one up, and then the next president up. You can't be both of those people at the same time. That wouldn't be logical, right? So that will always be. So vice president and vice president 1 will always be two different people. President and president 1 will always be two different people, same all the way up, okay? Chairman and chairman 1, they'll never be the same person. It'll always be two different people. It's someone and whoever's above that someone at the same rank. That's how it works, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a coding illustration because I know that this idea of actually how to, so you're telling me I can get paid, I'm going to get paid differently on different people within my team. Yes, that's what I'm telling you, but I'm going to give you an illustration. Okay. So you're going to see here in a moment, the colors represent the rank you're at when they join. So let's just say this is you, Mr. Happy or Mrs. Happy over here on the left, right? And you've been building your business with, and at some point you end up hitting the achiever rank. Okay. Now, as an achiever, right, this is how you're going to think. So today you hit achiever. And then tomorrow, which is, the point is after you hit achiever, you end up sponsoring 3 people. You're an achiever now. And then one of your influencers brings in 2 influencers themselves. 5 people join your team as an achiever. You are going to be the achiever for all 5 of those people, and you make the appropriate percentage. But now, sometime after that, you now hit the position of 1-star achiever. Well, right now, you're still the achiever on these 5 people because you were the achiever at the time. But as a 1-star achiever, you go sponsor another person, and then your team continues to grow. You can see now you're the 1-star achiever on these people, even though you're the achiever on these 5, right? Then you end up hitting 2-star achiever, and the same thing begins to happen. And you can begin to see the pattern that you hit a rank, and then everybody that comes in while you're at that rank locks in at that rank. So these 3 for regional leader, you will never make less than regional leader money on these 3 people. But you will never make regional leader money on these 5 people. You were the achiever at the time. And that's how you get your percentages protected long-term as you hit higher and higher ranks. Okay, so hopefully this visual illustration begins to get you to understand how you're going to look at your organization and why it matters to hit ranks as fast as you can. So you can, here'd be the question I'd ask you. Do you want to be a regional leader when all these people come in, or do you want to be an achiever when all these people come in? Because once they come in, they lock in at whatever you are. And that's the fear of loss that you should be thinking about. Now, let me give you a different illustration from a new influencer's perspective. Let's just say this is an organization, okay? So this just happens to be a group. You got Bob all the way up above, Bob is at the bottom, Jeff, Sarah, Tom, and all the way up to Chris. Bob's a regional leader, and you see Jeff is an influencer, Sarah's a president, and all Jeff being an influencer means is all Jeff ever did was got in and brought in Bob and never did anything else, but Bob took off and did what he did, right? Now, what we want to look at is, okay, this is the structure today, and today a new influencer signs up as all these people are at those ranks. What happens? Well, the system wants to assign these percentages to somebody and then locks them in for life. So at the bottom here, this, navy blue, I think is what it is, right? You'll see this is the uni level part. We're trying to figure out who the direct sponsor of this person is, and then indirect and double indirect, right? And so in those cases, you will see that Bob is the direct, Jeff is the indirect, and Sarah is the double indirect, right? That's the structure. And so they are going to make those percentages on all commissionable events that happen through this new influencer. Then the system wants to start assigning ranks. right? And what you're going to see here is because, it's going to be looking for an achiever, 1-star and 2-star. Well, in all three of those cases, that's Bob. Because there's no achiever, we can't find achiever, we know that a regional leader is at least an achiever. You had to pass through that gate to get to this one. So Bob is going to be the achiever. He's going to be the 1-star achiever. He's going to be the 2-star achiever. He's also going to be the leader, and he's going to be the regional leader. He's going to pick up every one of these percentages because there's nobody in the way. Okay. But then the system asks who the national leader is. Well, it's going to go, it's going to start from here, go up and say, well, Bob's not a national leader. He's only a regional leader. Well, Jeff's an influencer, right? He hasn't really done much, but he's not a national leader. Where we're going to find Sarah. Well, it's going to select Sarah because Sarah is greater than a national leader. In fact, Sarah is also the global leader, and Sarah is the vice president. But now we're at vice president 1, right? Sarah can't be the first vice president, the vice president, and then the VP 1, right? She can't be both. So that we go up and look for the next person that's at least a VP. Well, that's Tom, right? Same thing with president, right? Is going to be Sarah again, and president 1 is going to be Tom, right? So on and so forth. And you can see the pattern here where the company actually is locking in people for the different ranks that they are, right? And these ranks remain permanent, right? And the percentages accordingly. In fact, after it assigns it all, now you begin to see that when this new influencer creates any commissionable event whatsoever, Bob forever is going to make 9% on all those BIX scenario commissionable events and all the trading fees. Sarah's the big winner here, right? She's making 22%. Not that everybody else isn't, but she's the big winner because she hit a rank, right? She got all the way up to president, and there are a lot of ranks between her and Bob, and she picked up some really good percentages over here, and those are locked and coded. And again, that pays out 60% as shared earlier, right, on all Bit1 and BIX commissionable events, okay? Last thing I want to get into here and chat through is an example of president, all right? Now, again, I'm not going to get into too much detail on this. Your leadership can absolutely break this down, but you're going to be thinking very much before president and after president. For those of you that are that happen to be religious, you know what that looks like, right? The BC and the AD, right? This is going to be BP and AP, before president and after president. That's how you have to look at it. So in order to hit president, okay, you got to have 1 billion in volume, okay? And we're going to use an assumption because anytime you're doing an example, we can't give you, there's millions of scenarios, right? So we're going to give you one of them here, and we think it's a fair one. And that is to get to president, you put a team together of 2,000 people that average 2,500 in active trading, right? Where 20% of them trade solo and 80% of them copy trade. Okay. Why do we care that they're one or the other? Well, if you remember before, the volume change can be the case. And these are we tend to see that anyway within the company. Okay. Now, because you're building to president, you've never been a president when you hit until the day you hit. So you're not making the up to the 6% and the up to 30 ever. Up until you're president. You're somewhere below president getting to president. That's logical, right? So your code is going to be up to 24%. And for sake of example, we're going to say the average code throughout the date you started to today, and hopefully this is going futuristic for you based on my direction, right? From those 2 days, that you've been at all these ranks, and we're going to use the number 12%, which, as a fair code for across the board, right? Based on that, and based on this example, you take 1 billion, you multiply it by 0.09% because that's how we get the commission value on that volume. And you multiply it by our average code of 12%, you're making 108,000 a month. And that's before any president benefits begin to kick in. That's just building to president, which is significant. And you know what that looks like if you multiply it by 12 and what you can then say from that day forward. And you just hit president, right? In fact, you've probably hit that number before you hit president or close to it, right? So that's nice. But then the next way you're going to think is, all right, so now what happens after president? Well, let's say after president, while you're trying to build the star president or so on, you end up averaging, adding, because you're going to continue to build, new members are going to join, but now they're coded at your higher president rank, right? And you're adding, let's just say on average, 100 million a month in new volume after president, which could be as simple as an example here of 200 people averaging 2,500 in active trading, again with the 20% solo traders and 80% copy traders, choosing one or the other, right? Well, now your percentage of code can go up to 30%, but again, you're not going to get 30% on everybody because you're going to have leaders like me and other people that are on your team that are picking up some of those codes. So there are scenarios where you can get 30, and that's what up to means, doesn't it? It means that you don't always get that, but we're going to use an average code a little higher than the other one because you're at a higher rank, which is 15%, right? And the way you're going to look at this is now you're adding 100 million at 0.09%, okay, to get the commission value times 15%. And every single month that you add 100 million, you're adding 13,500 to the 108,000. Now you do this over the course of a 12-month period on your way to star president, and you can start to, think about and probably lose sleep over the idea of what can happen. Now imagine what happens at star president, senior vice president, and chairman. Well, do you see this 15% on the side? I'm going to tell you two things tend to occur in network marketing. This number goes up when you hit higher ranks. So this goes up, but then because the group is that much bigger when you hit the higher ranks, your addition of new volume goes up. So you're going to see an increase here and you're going to see an increase over here, which is going to make this number even wilder. So you go and work another year at the higher rank and it gets even more fun than that. I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, this is the compensation plan for leaders. And ultimately, what we're here to do is to, just give you the information. I do understand that many of you have enough experience where you picked up on all of it. You might need to hear it again, and I'm sure this is going to be made available to you. But for those of you that were, there were some things maybe you required a little bit more of a dive in. I am confident that you can get with your leadership who did pick this up, and they can kind of bridge the gap for each and every one of you. So with that, I really appreciate your time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm not sure if I'm passing it back to anybody, but if I am.
Recording stopped.
Yeah. If I am, great. Otherwise, is it Raj? Raj, am I bringing you back on?
That's right, Andre. That's me.
Excellent. Hey, Raj, thank you for everything you do as well. We really appreciate you. You're great. You're a great leader yourself. And we are very happy and excited to have you working with us as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Andre.
Yep.
This coming from a stalwart like you, of course, it puts more responsibility on me. Thank you so much once again for that detail, Andre. Thank you for being there. And well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is the start of a new era. You've heard Kenny, you've heard Andre, everything super easy and simplified. I know you want this recording. Of course, this will be sent out to you. Thank you so much once again for your time and being here on the call. Till then, please stay connected and stay tuned for the Stratify call on Tuesday that we'll be having. Thank you so much once again.